Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today's topic is dance, and our guest expert today is Jacqueline Hill, who is a studio owner and choreographer. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hi, George. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Give us a little thumbnail sketch of your expertise.
I started in theater when I was 11 in London, trained at the Royal Academy of Ballet, and then came to Los Angeles at 18. Agent, have been in the performance business my whole life, and masterclass teacher all over the world, and now I have a home base here in LA County, actually, where my studio is.
Wow, well done.
Thank you.
So for folks who are not as well versed into dance as you, all right, is there a real brief statement that you could make about the importance of dance in society?
Oh, brief statement. My first thing would be to say is that everybody can dance. So when people think that they're not versed in it or don't know anything about it, everybody can dance, and having dance in society is a way of communication. It's an expression of joy, grief. When I'm teaching my classes, I take it all the way back to dancing to bring the rain or grow the harvest, or I think it's a really important thing to keep it as a way to communicate. And then, of course, there's all the physical benefits, emotional benefits, mental benefits of participating in something that you can do as an individual that brings you closer to a very, very large group of people around the world.
Cool. Now, when you say anyone can dance, that is intriguing to me, because I do associate dance with so much work and a lot of time to attain some level of competence. Is that just not the case? It
is. The discipline is the discipline, the focus, the repetition. But what I've come to know in my 30-some years now, I think, of teaching is anybody can start at any time. So anybody can dance. And you could go in tomorrow and decide you're going to learn a skill. Now, you might have to do more stretching than someone who's been doing it for a long time, or you might have to do more core strengthening. But if you really focus your mind on what you're doing, you can achieve a level of excellence in dance that you probably didn't realize you had the ability to do.
Okay. So dance, to me, of course, encompasses so many different styles, and if someone were pursuing dance as a more engaged interest, as opposed to something really periodically participating in, how does one even contemplate a direction or a style or a type of dance to pursue?
It probably comes across to some as a little bit cliche, but I'm a firm believer that ballet is the foundation of dance. It offers you a foundation of vocabulary that's worldwide, and core strength and flexibility and control. So most of the time, professional dancers that you'll see on television have all had some sort of foundation built with a ballet. I know professional choreographers in the business these days who didn't start even dancing till they were 18, who are very successful, and they always came back to needing more ballet classes. So I would always say that's a great place to start. You can always go back to it. So even as a professional dancer, if you want to maintain, have longevity, you tend to always go back to that foundation. So if it's more than just a recreational hobby, you really have a passion for it, ballet is the place to go.
Okay. Now, for someone who might be experienced only in terms of a recreational hobby, it seems to be that there's some folks that are more natural and some that are not, all right? So for someone who's listening to this, who's not looking at really pursuing dance, but might be interested in learning something to just help their recreational dancing, is there any tips that you might suggest?
Let it go. You gotta let it all go. It's really a mental thing. It's really not look at yourself. It's funny because as dancers, we're constantly examining ourselves and critiquing ourselves and being critiqued by others. And it's part of what we do. But one of the biggest steps is to lose your opinion of yourself and be open-minded to the information that is being passed on to you. So even for a recreational dancer, it's really just to not care what you look like, not have an opinion about yourself, do what feels good, don't do what doesn't feel good, and lose that, don't be worried about your self-image. Because in the end, it all comes back around and you end up feeling great about yourself. But when you start out, people tend to be so judgmental of themselves that it creates a lot of speed bumps along the way.
Wow, those are beautiful words. I've never heard that before.
Thanks.
Very cool. Okay, so it's also, whether it's me or with another group of recreational dancers, some folks do seem to have an innate sense of rhythm. All right, so, and some don't appear to, but maybe I'm, just not educated enough to be able to perceive it. All right, but I guess the point I'm making is when we're talking about anyone can learn. Let me get that straight. Are you saying anyone can learn dance, or that people are innately capable of dance?
Both.
Oh, okay.
You have it in you, and then depending on the discipline level, that approach that you take, it can evolve to be whatever level of excellence that you choose.
Okay.
As far as rhythm goes, I would agree that some people seem to have a natural sense to pick up the beat, to be able to hear the beat, but it's all something that can be taught, which most people don't think that. They think you have to be a natural performer or have natural stage presence, but everything is learned, and then everything is perfected by practice, repetition. So I've had students that we break down the simplest task as if walking to the beat across the room, and they just have to do it. And once they start to open up how to listen differently than what they're used to, we've all already made an agreement with ourselves whether we think we have rhythm or not. So if you can lose that agreement with yourself, get rid of that, and again, just be open-minded to, it's sort of, a lot of it is by osmosis almost. If you can just be there and be present in what you're doing, all of a sudden you're going to think, man, I didn't think I had rhythm, but then you're totally going to have rhythm. So it's really a mind trip, yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah. So nowadays, or in recent days, there's dances on TV more than it used to be. Can you comment on that?
Well, I'm sure dance studio business has been booming because of that. However, I think it's put studio owners and professional instructors in a position that we have to change how we think, and we have to change how we teach, because everything's so instant. So the youth that see what's on television today, they only see that take that's on television. They don't see all the work that went behind all of that to get to where those dancers got to. So they have this sort of warped impression that it's going to happen super, super fast. And that's just not the case. Dance takes time. It does take a long time to get to that place. So it's so exciting. It's so exciting to see dance back in the forefront. I grew up watching, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Sid Charisse, and I lived on musicals. I lived during, I was like, gosh, why wasn't I born during that time? That's what I wanted to do. And after a fantastic career, seeing it come back around and having people be so excited about it is really cool for everybody who's involved in it. But I think it does make our job a little more tricky, because we have to get them to understand you have to slow down. It's not going to happen. It's not a click of a button. It's really something you have to put your heart and soul into. So as exciting as it is, it has created a whole new world of trying to communicate with the youth who are interested in it.
Cool. Now, when I think of dance, I think of the aesthetic, but the work involved does communicate to me, okay, this is an exercise. I mean, I don't know if that's correct words or not, but you have to work out a lot, all right? So speak to dance as simply a way to be healthy.
It's fantastic, because there's a joy to it that I see differently to like going into a gym and having just that repetition. Part of what makes the exercise side of dance easier is that you're in a room full of people sharing that experience. So if we're all doing 1,000 crunches, we're all in pain doing 1,000 crunches, but we know that the goal is at the end. So there's an element of joy that comes into that. It's definitely a physical fitness that I think is great for the body, because if you're training in the right facility with the right guidance, especially if you're doing ballet, your muscles are long, they're flexible, and if you're really focused on having that be your lifestyle, you tend to make healthier choices. So it just sort of becomes part of your daily existence. Now, what's really exciting now is that you get things like Pilates and yoga and dance are all sort of integrating themselves. So it's even a better mashup of physical fitness with dance. most of my students and most of the people that I've met that do dance continue to dance their whole life. So they don't have to go, okay, now I have to start running 5 miles a day, because it's such a passion. They maintain that lifestyle.
So with your experience in dance, are you able to, let's say in a social experience or just, walking around, are you able to identify dancers just sort of by how, they handle themselves physically?
Usually.
Okay.
Usually you can, because there's a sort of familiarity of movement. Usually you could say, okay, it's really easy to spot a ballet dancer whose technique is specifically only ballet. If the dancers are crossing from ballet and using that as their foundation into other styles like contemporary or tap or jazz or hip hop or any of those, there's a definite thing about dancers. There's a definite sort of body language for sure. But I'll be honest with you, one of my favorite things to do is watch non-dancers dance, because I think there's a different motivation behind their movement. So on a social level, I really enjoy being out where there's live music, where people are just dancing because it feels good. And I tend to try and watch how they're moving their bodies and what they're doing with their bodies, and then take it back to my teaching to say, hey, let's rethink everything that we think we already know. So
the reason I ask, because of course I have no training in the area, but there have been a few times in my life when I've asked some people, are you a dancer? And each time they've said yes. Now I'm probably looking at, these are the most obvious things, but to me they're just something I recognize. But it's a grace. And I think these dancers probably were ballet trained, but it's just a grace of movement that, in my mind, distinguishes their motion as being a little different than others.
I think so. We're taught to we're taught to do dances. Everything has to be going in both directions all the time. So if I'm sitting up straight, I'm pushing myself down somewhere else. If I'm reaching on my right, I'm reaching somewhere on my left. So we're taught to carry ourselves a certain way, especially if you're a performer. If you're a performer, then your goal is to project out into a, whether it's a theater or a film set or whatever. I think that body language, then that's just how you are all the time. And what's funny is a lot of dancers, when they're not conscious of it, are doing the exact opposite, and we're slouching. So it's another way to tell if that's a dancer, because we hold ourselves up so often that when we're really relaxed, we all tend to sort of come down from that position. So I totally agree with you. I think there's definitely we're taught to drive from our chest and lift our chest and lengthen our spine. So I think when you see someone walking around the supermarket like that, you kind of can tell, they must be doing something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're out of time here. I'm wondering if we can get a website from you that people can go to for more information, and if there's a very brief summating statement you'd like to make to the viewers.
My website is www.elitedancestudioesca.com, and I can be reached through that website. It's pretty exciting, actually, how many people from other areas contact us just to ask us questions and stuff through our website. And then I think that my statement would just be, everybody can do it, everybody can dance. And if you just let go of the agreements you already think you know about yourself and are open-minded, you can find a whole new level of joy to daily life by participating in dance.
Jacqueline, thank you very much.
Thanks, George.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.